Hey tricksters, Patrick here. Since my perhaps not so surprising reveal in last week's video, I thought it would be fun if I dug out and went through an old porn contract from my studio days for you. Back in the early aughts, I was an exclusive performer for Rascal Video. Patrick, what does that even mean? So Rascal Video was a studio like all of the studios at the time, Falcon, All World, Studio 2000. Rascal Video was a new studio set up by Shishi LaRue. Now, if you don't know the name Shishi LaRue, then you don't know porn. By the time I showed up on the scene, Shishi LaRue was head of her own studio. She was one of the best known directors working in the industry and is the one who discovered me. But that's another story for another time. And make sure to stay till the end of this video because I'm going to share with you a little secret, something that I personally negotiated in my own contract that wasn't done for anybody else. Okay, so you got to keep in mind that each studio has their own version of this contract, but whatever somebody signed back then is going to look a hell of a lot like this does. Of course, these days all you need is a phone and you can produce your own content like I do for my OnlyFans. Link in the description below. Oh, and also, I am not a lawyer, obviously. This is not legal advice. This is my opinion. This is my contract. We're going to go through it together step by step. I actually don't even understand some of the jargon. So if you do and you want to correct me or comment on what we're talking about today, make sure to leave a message below so you can enlighten us all. This video is for entertainment purposes only, and I am in no way currently affiliated with any of the parties mentioned herein. All right, now that that's out of the way, let's dive right into this contract. Let's start at the beginning of the contract. Rascal Video Exclusive Performer Agreement is what it's called. This agreement is made between Rascal Video LLC company and Patrick Marano, aka Eddie Stone. Now this first bit is going to be talking about what my responsibilities were. Perform in 6 complete scenes in 1 or more gay adult motion pictures or video productions for company at any location designated by company in which performer shall appear nude and or perform designated sexual acts. Actually, I could have done 6 scenes, 1 movie, and been done. This is supposed to be spread out. Obviously, they choose the location, and I'm supposed to appear nude and or perform designated sexual acts. Okay, obviously, you're a porn star. You're supposed to be having sex on film. So that's pretty, self-explanatory, right? So let's get into how much I was getting paid. A fee of $2,000 per month is payable on the 15th of each month for the next year. $2,000 a month for a kid, basically, I was in my early 20s in 2005, was really good money. That was amazing. But wait, it doesn't end there. If the performer completes more than the designated 6 scenes within the next year, performer will be paid $4,000 at the end of additional scene. Yes! Which I did, always. I was always doing more than 6 scenes per year. I guess 6 scenes was the minimum, but I was always doing more than 6. So I was getting $2,000 a month, plus I was getting this $4,000 per scene. These are high. Shishi was generous. They were paying well. So these are good numbers. I know from back in the day, if you were not exclusive to a studio, you could do anything from online work was maybe $1,200 and upwards, and then usually capped around the 2,000 mark. So if you were going to do a scene, if you were an unknown entity and you were a non-exclusive, you'd probably be on the lower end of $1,200 to $1,500, let's say. This is in the day, okay? Don't know what it's like now. I don't know. I work for myself. I told you, OnlyFans in the description below. But if you were exclusive performer, usually it was about $2,000 per scene. So as you can see, I was getting an extra $2,000 per scene because when I sat down to negotiate this contract, I knew that they wanted me. And it wasn't an ego thing. I just if you're approaching me and you want to do business with me, then obviously you're interested in me, which means I have something to sell. So I didn't accept the first offer that they offered me. Next paragraph. Performer shall make himself available for taking promotional and support stills and photographs at such locations designated by company. Okay, so basically for no extra cost, you have to be available to do photo shoots whenever they want you to do photo shoots. 9 times out of 10, the photo shoots they're talking about in this contract are just photo shoots to help promote the movie. So it's part and parcel of the whole thing. Usually a photo shoot is even done on the same day that you're shooting the scene. So it was really efficient that way. As part of this fee, performer will be required to attend and promote company at the Las Vegas convention in January, if company requests. I love if company requests. So I guess if they don't want you there, they would just be like, you're not good for the brand. So in Las Vegas, every single year, they have this huge porn convention. We would have our booths and we would be promoting ourselves, we'd be promoting our movies, we would be promoting our products. It's just DragCon, but porn. Company shall provide round-trip transportation to and from any location more than 100 miles from performer's residence and sleeping accommodations in proximity to that location. This is something that they always did. If we were filming, for example, we filmed in Europe, everything was taken care of. When we would do gigs out of town, we'd fly to, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Indiana, Idaho, Kansas, wherever we would go. Next paragraph. This agreement is exclusive for the services of performer for the period from, and then you can see the dates, 2005 to 2006, and for 90 days after the completion of any production of company in which performer appears during that period. You're under contract in this contract for 1 year plus 90 days after the completion of any production of the company. Which doesn't sound that bad on the surface because you're thinking, well, I'm signing an exclusive deal. You guys are taking care of me and you're promoting me. So we're in this for a year plus 90 days after the contract. And at first I thought, oh my God, why would you need to lock me into 90 days after the contract? But then I watched the Bussy Queen video about the RuPaul contract, and these queens are locked in for years, literally years after. 90 days, in hindsight, is not that bad. Okay, next paragraph. Performer agrees not to perform in any gay adult motion picture or video production or pose for any still photographs or make any live appearances, I like this wording, on the electronic internet. The internet was young back then. The electronic internet or other media, whether known or unknown for any other party during the term without the prior written consent of company, which consent may be withheld in company's sole discretion. You can't do anything. You cannot do anything. You can't do live appearances. You can't film for anybody. You can't take pictures for anybody. You can't make money with anybody. Literally, you are locked in. You can only work with this company. So, on one hand, I'm kind of like, okay, well, I get it. I mean, you're paying me $2,000 a month as basically a retainer. And plus I'm getting $4,000 per extra scene. Plus you're paying for accommodations and flying around and all of these things. Plus you're promoting my brand. And I'm getting the rub off of being connected to you. So that's great. But, I mean, it is limiting. Realistically, you could approach company and say, hey, I would like to do this gig in this location. Can I go? As long as I bill myself as Eddie Stone Rascal Video exclusive, it should be okay. You have to remember, back in these days, it was very different. So the internet was very young. There's no Twitter. I don't even know if Facebook was there. It was very young. There's no OnlyFans. There's no Instagram. Even having your own website, I had EddieStoneXXX.com, and even running that was kind of a process because it wasn't drag and drop and all of this like Squarespace and stuff that people use today. So promoting yourself was difficult. If you were nobody, promoting yourself was very hard. So for me, being connected to the name and having the brand rub of Rascal Video and Shishi LaRue, that's what catapulted me to award-winning status. Because otherwise it would have been extremely difficult to promote myself. Nowadays, it's very different. I mean, you can be your own marketing machine and there's a million different ways that you can promote yourself. Next paragraph. Pursuant to the terms and conditions of this agreement, company owns all results and proceeds of performer services rendered pursuant to this agreement and has the exclusive rights to use, license, and exploit each production which performer appears and performer's performance here therein, and a stage name, photograph, likeness, voice, appearance throughout the world in perpetuity and in any and all media, whether now known or hereafter devised, and in the advertising, publicizing, exhibition, and or other exploitation thereof in any manner and by any means throughout the world in perpetuity. Company retains the right to assign ownership of all media. Okay, there is a lot going on here, so let's break it down. Basically what they're saying, obviously, is that they own my ass. Not only do they own it, and they can use it whenever they want, however they want, with whomever they want, not only in the media that exists now, but any kind of media that ever comes about ever in the future. And not only that, they can assign those rights to anybody that they choose. Presumably, I guess if they sold the company to another entity, then that entity would now own all of those products and things, and they would be able to use it in perpetuity, forever and ever, in any way they want, till the death of time. I don't have a problem with that per se, except for the fact that when people ask you, how much were you getting paid to do porn? And you tell them, and they're like, well, then how much residuals are you making? So, Patrick, how much money are you making in residuals? And I tell them, a zero! Ba-ba! Zero residuals! Just to put to bed any confusion, no porn stars ever got residuals. I'm talking back in the day, I don't know what happens these days. Back when I was doing the studio stuff, nobody got residuals. If they did, it was extremely rare and probably very hush-hush, and they didn't tell anybody anything. You would get your one-time fee, and bye, Felicia. I knew that going in. I did. That's why when they said, hey, 2,000 per scene, I was like, make it 4. I would say that, I guess, was the shittiest part of it. And I know what you're gonna say, Patrick, why would you agree to do something like that if they're not gonna pay you residuals for those products and things? To that I say, if I didn't do it, somebody else will. And I know that makes me part of the problem, but it's true. There were 100 guys right behind me, and that were coming up. They were younger, they were cuter, and they were hoarier, and they would do it for less. So you got to pick your battles. I mean, I already negotiated a really great contract as far as I could push it, and if you don't do it, somebody else will. And I wanted to be a fucking porn star. For the rest of the contract now, it gets a little bit dry, it gets a little bit litigious. I'm not going to go into details about it. It's basically them saying, if something goes wrong between us two in the contract, this is how we're going to proceed moving forward. And that's basically half of the contract, is talking about how we're going to solve problems if there's a problem between us. And then the final page is just some signatures and dates. So as you can see, it's not a super long or complicated contract. I weighed out the pros and cons, and for me, there were enough pros that I thought, oh, this is a good idea. This is going to advance my career. This is going to take me to the level of where I want to be. And guess what? God damn it, I was right. I had one more stipulation before I signed my contract. And it's not in the contract, but it was a verbal agreement and a handshake and was always upheld. So thank you, Rascal Video. I sat down with them before signing the contract, and I said, it's very important to me that I am able to approve my co-stars. This was not a thing. You don't get to choose who you work with. Of course, they want people to work with people that they enjoy working with because they want the scene to be successful. Of course. But there's a lot of moving parts here. I wasn't trying to be a diva, but I know me. And I know that if I wasn't into somebody, that it would make a bad scene and it would show all over my face. I am extremely transparent. I am extremely expressive. If I'm not into it, it's gonna show, it's gonna be a bad scene. And I have to say that I was right in asking for that for myself, because when I stopped working for Rascal and I started working for other studios, I tried to always have that co-star approval, but it wasn't always possible. I wasn't exclusive to these companies. I can remember times when I was paired with people and it did not click. Okay, now if you want to see this contract in its entirety and you want to read it through and go through it and maybe comment back to me, I'm going to post it for my patrons on my Patreon page. Patrons of my channel get advanced access to episodes, behind the scenes content, and they help me feed my puppy. You can find the link in the description below. And if you learned something today, make sure that you subscribe to my channel and hit that like button. And are you looking for something fresh to watch? Try this video right here. And I will see you in the next video. Mwah!